Welcome back, everybody, to another episode playing through my first time on the Confederate campaign on the beta version of Grand Tactician, the Civil War. It is coming out for early release on August 21st, so not much longer, you guys, until you get a chance to play this yourselves if you so wish. It is far from a finished product. Expect some bumps along the way, but I'm excited to continue. I was just looking through some of the requests that I had, not only for patrons for units, but also just people with miscellaneous requests. And somebody actually, just as I was about to start recording, mentioned putting John B. Gordon in command of a Georgia unit. So I went to just the Georgia officers, and I found him down here at the rank of captain. But look at his stats. Really aggressive, great leadership, decent administration, very cunning. Definitely the kind of guy that we want to try and get up to high command. So that made me think that, I really need to start thinking about my officers, because I've got some commanders who just really have no business being commanders, like Polk, for example. So I ought to start looking to see what I need to do to get better people in charge. Some of these division commanders are not that great. I just have so many low stat officers here. Now you got a guy like Patrick Claiborne who's actually decent. Daniel Ruggles, not great. Henry Heath's decent. Bernard B., who historically was killed at the First Battle of Bull Run. So a lot of thought I need to put into some of that as I kind of continue on with this campaign. In the meantime, I do have a couple of patron units that I need to take care of, so let's go ahead and deal with that now. Before I get to that, I just happened to be scrolling through and I found, here's a perfect example. Look at John Bell Hood, his stats: 4 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars, 2, 2. But look at the commander that's over him. Not quite as good. The fame obviously is a big difference here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and, for example, replace Gustavus Smith with John Bell Hood. Now it gets tricky where you do this because you have to select the assigned officers to find them. I believe is Hood from Texas? I don't know if he's from Texas. I'll find him and I'll get him. Oh, there's Stonewall Jackson here, but he's already in command of a brigade or a division. All right, so it wouldn't let me promote Hood because Hood's only a colonel. I can't put a colonel apparently in charge of a division. It won't let me do it, at least not right now. I can't replace a major general. So I'll try to find a way, or we'll have to wait until he gets promoted. I don't know if that'll happen by itself. I haven't really found a specific way that you can promote officers. I believe it just kind of happens organically. In the meantime, I do have a couple of things to do here, and we're going to add this first one. This one's for Jim O'Hare, who's probably one of my longest time supporters through Patreon. We're going to add, this is going to be in D.H. Hill's division. We're going to go ahead and, he's already got 10,000 men. Actually, that's D.H. Hill's corps. These divisions are separate. I need to have these are separate armies. This is so kind of confusing because these corps are operating independently, almost like separate armies. And then the force that's actually traveling with Lee under the banner of Army Northern Virginia is actually these divisions. So it gets a little tricky from that standpoint. So let's see. Early's division's only got 4,000 men in it. So we're going to add this unit to Jubal Early's division. And it's going to this actually makes sense to do it this way. We're going to do this as draftees, and this is going to be the VMI cadets. If you're not familiar with the Virginia Military Institute, is in Lexington, Virginia. Stonewall Jackson was a professor there before the war. And during the Battle of New Market, which was fought in the Shenandoah Valley, the VMI cadets were actually called out to fight, and they went into combat. So this is going to be the VMI Cadets Brigade, and that one's yours, Jim O'Hare. Okay, the other request we have comes from Montera Kid, and he asked for a Virginia Infantry Brigade called the Montera Rifles. Now here's the tricky part. We don't have any available Virginia units at this point, or men. I think what I can do, though, is I can find a Virginia unit of volunteers, say Pickett's Brigade, and we can eliminate them, and that unit will go back into the pool, and now I can go ahead and add, and he wants them to be under Jackson or Longstreet if and when available. So we'll go ahead and put this one under Jackson's command. This will be in Edward Johnson's division. So let's go. Now we've got Oh, we should have. I thought we had. I guess we're going to have to wait until that unit shows up back as volunteers again. But we'll get you that unit as soon as we have enough volunteers in the Virginia forces. So once again, we engaged out west at Pea Ridge. Didn't fight it this time. I auto-resolved. And nearly 4,000 men lost on both sides. That means the Army of the Southwest basically has to have hardly any men left at all. We've just devastated him. So we're waiting right now for Beauregard's army to actually build up its forces. I don't think it's actually got any of them yet. Well, he's got this one brigade, Jones's brigade. 19 more days for Pender to show up with his Georgians, and 10 days for the Louisianans to show up from Ransom. Once they have those, then we'll be ready to march into Missouri. Now, somebody said if you take St. Louis and there are no other Union units in the state, that's how you get Missouri to secede. I guess we will test that out and find out for sure. But for now, I need the Army of the West to kind of regroup a little bit because they've lost a lot of casualties, and we can see what the Army of the Southwest is up to. I also noticed that it appears Grant has pulled back out of Tennessee. He's right at the edge there of Kentucky now, so we may want to go on an offensive at some point. I'm not sure, but right now we're still looking at 35% for British intervention. I've got a force here. This is that raiding party, and it might be time to go ahead and take them. They've only got 147 men left. Maybe not. Okay. I'm having a hard time finding any Union troops on the peninsula, so I'm going to go ahead and move the Army of the Peninsula down and take a look and see. If he's not there, we'll occupy Fort Monroe, and that'll be a nice load off my mind. And somebody suggested maybe we just kind of build a series of forts here. That may be the way to go to avoid having to keep an entire corps of 13,000 men down on the peninsula, and instead I can send them up here to help out with the Army of Northern Virginia. So I think I might do that. Now I'm looking at the finances, and you can see that my finances pretty much dropped off a cliff, and I went heavily into debt. And there's a reason for that. That was when I did all the upgrades for all of my equipment among the Army of Mississippi and the Army of the Southwest. Doing that really just destroyed my economy, so I've got to be careful about doing it further. I'm going to go ahead and auto-manage finances for now. But you can see my credit rating is totally in the toilet. Interest rates are crazy high. National debt is at $50 million, but my total expenses are at minus $132 million. I'm going to completely collapse my economy if I'm not careful. So we're going to have to try and make a move here, see what we can do to get European intervention on our side, because it's still sitting at 35%. So I think it might be time to make a move on Grant as soon as I see what happens here, because I'm thinking if I start moving into Missouri that he might pull back and they might have to shift the Army of the Ohio back over. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not, but we're going to go ahead and start moving forward in a two-pronged attack. The Army of the West is going to move right up this way. And then Beauregard's army, which actually isn't that big quite yet, but we'll keep adding forces to it. They're going to start making the move towards St. Louis. And I don't know how supplies are going to look as we move forward, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Beauregard's army says 0 supply, but I think that's mainly because we really haven't done anything with Hardee's Corps yet. The Army of the Peninsula has arrived at Fort Monroe. We're going to put them on an offensive posture. It's going to take a couple of days for them to get the orders because they're technically a part of Lee's army. So they're going to have to get those orders all the way from the Army of Northern Virginia. That's going to take some time to happen. Okay, exactly what I thought might happen is what happened. Grant's army has moved all the way into Missouri, along with the Army of the Mississippi. So those two are there to confront me, which basically leaves southern Kentucky wide open for my Army of the Mississippi to move in. So we're going to start doing that. Let's move the 1st Corps up in here. What is this? That's Hopkinsville. So we're going to move them there. I'm hoping this will actually draw Grant's army back this way. And then we're going to move the 2nd Corps up this way. Loring's Corps we'll go ahead and put all the way up a little bit farther. We'll see what this causes Grant to do. I'm really curious. I had a feeling that if he thought we were just going to sit tight in Tennessee, that he might shift to meet the threat in Missouri, and that's exactly what he chose to do. So Beauregard and your 8,000 men, your job is just to keep these guys occupied, because there's no way we can take them on ourselves. I'm going to pretty much sit tight here. Maybe we'll even build a fort. First thing we need is supplies, though. So let me pause for a second and let's build a supply depot. And then build a fort. We'll make Grant really start guessing. All right, I'm also going to move the Army of East Tennessee. That'll keep the Army of the Ohio bogged down there. I don't know what the Army of the Potomac's doing, how many of his corps are still in this area. But if I can get the Army of Northern Virginia built up a little bit more, plus if I can deal with, we're about to deal with the Fort Monroe situation. Take Fort Monroe, garrison that, maybe put one more fort somewhere here on the peninsula. I can pull the Army of the Peninsula out of there, and that's what I really would like to do. Okay, it might be time to pull the Army of the West back. As we can see now that the Army of the Tennessee and the Army of the Mississippi are headed that way. Beauregard's army, same thing. I think we're going to probably just have to scratch our plans. I don't think that's the way to go, though. We'll pull Beauregard back down to here for now. I definitely don't want to take on, that's probably 50, 60,000 men at least in those two armies. I do see the Army of the Ohio appears to be shifting west to take on the Army of the Mississippi as it moves into central Kentucky. All right, we built a fort. Fort Morgan, is that what we call the other one too? I mean, is that how this works? Is it's just going to kind of randomly call everything Fort Morgan? I feel like that's what the other fort was too. Yeah, it was. We can probably rename that, I would guess. I guess we'll find out. But we definitely need to add some additional troops because that's not a garrison that's going to hold when one of these army gets a hold of them. So let's go ahead and see who we can add to that and get them there quickly. Do we have any Missouri troops available? Probably not. Nope. South Carolina. It's funny that I eliminated 2 infantry brigades from Virginia, and my number actually went down to a negative number of recruits. That's just kind of strange to me. Looks like Alabama it'll need to be. So let's get a infantry brigade from Alabama. We're going to have to probably pass some kind of a law to get some additional recruits. And then an artillery unit from Alabama as well. And that's going to take 13 days. We may not have 13 days to get them in there. Oh man, I had started building a fort here as well, and I got a notification the Union Army captured a fort, and I couldn't figure out why. And it's because that fort got completed, and then the Army of the Mississippi took it. So another Fort Morgan there. Let's see if there's a way to change the name of the fort. I don't know if there is. Do we do it in here? Yeah, there we go. Fort. We'll just be generic for now. Fort Missouri. All right, let's see what everybody else is doing. Particularly, I want to see what the Army of the Ohio is doing. Here he comes. He's coming toward Loring's corps, so we need to make sure that our other corps are within range to be able to support them, and it appears that they are. We've got the 2nd Corps and Loring's corps there. 1st Corps is nearby. Army of the Mississippi also moving up. Okay, here we go. We're going to take on Don Carlos Buell and the Army of the Ohio. We're definitely going to fight this one because I've got a pretty substantial army. It looks like it's going to be fought on the Wilson's Creek battlefield. So we'll see what the numbers look like, and then we'll deploy for action. Something we haven't really explored is that in any given battle, there are actually objectives that are given by your commanding officer. In this case, it's the 2nd Corps under General Braxton Bragg. And so he's given a series of objectives that we need to take, and there are objective points to be gained by doing that. So that's what you get when you click on the objective screen there. For now, we're going to sit back on the defensive. I believe my reinforcements should also be coming from this way. I actually would probably prefer to be on the back side of these bridges so I could kind of create a choke point. But let's take a look for now at the terrain here. It might not be too bad if we went right here. Maybe even in these woods. All of my units just turned to face south. I think the Union's coming from the south on this battlefield. And that is not something I was prepared for. So I've suddenly got an issue on my hands where I need to pull back. Let's go ahead and put Heath on this wooded hill right here. I think that might be a really good spot for him. And we'll pull Ruggles, I guess, in alongside of him. And we'll see how that works. By the way, here's Nelson's redcoats, because I know Nelson was asking about his unit. So this could be your chance, Nelson, to see your redcoats in action. They're right here. They're on the position right at the center of my corps. And we've gone ahead and fallen back to this position. I just felt like this was a much more easily defendable position if and when the Union does get up to attack me. Plus, if my reinforcements come from this side, we'll get him a little faster. But it looks like he may be coming down from up here. And I don't have any cavalry to help me with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Patton Anderson's brigade a little bit to the north up to this hill, so we can maybe get a glimpse at what might be coming that way, so we have time to shift accordingly. This is also Mills' brigade and the last Centurions are a part of these this corps. So you're about to get a chance to see 3 of these Patron units in action. And thankfully for me, he's actually crossing this road down here. And it looks like he might come back this way. I'm going to leave Anderson up there, though, just to keep an eye on things. But we're going to see the redcoats opening up here in just a minute. As soon as we get this Union unit in action, or right about there, we'll be able to start firing on them. Here's your chance, Nelson, to see your boys in action. And they've begun to fire. All right, looks like they're going to come across. So I've gone ahead and moved some of my forces up to the edge because I want to hit them if they try to cross the water. But not too far before. It looks like they may be waiting until more forces come up. Let's go ahead and give ourselves where's my long range order? They've got Enfields. Same thing here, Randall Gibson. These guys have Enfields as well. Let's go ahead and give long range so we can fire a little quicker if need be. He's going to try to bring up the balance of his force, which makes sense. But I've got 2 batteries firing on him now. Hopefully we can start causing some casualties on these guys. All right, here he comes. 1st Brigade's going to start trying to hit me. That's the 4th Brigade. Very quickly moving into assault column, I guess. He can't make up his mind what he wants to do. He's sending at least 3 brigades at me. Now my infantry opens up. That's Wood's brigade. Over here we got Pond's brigade also opening up. Now don't expose your flank, boys. All right, hopefully now Nelson's redcoats are going to switch over to, we got 10-pounder Parrots. So these are rifles. I don't think they can do canister. But these Napoleons certainly can. I'm curious to see how effective our fire has been so far. 10 killed, 33 wounded. He started with, I think, a number of 400 wounded or 350. So it's more like 40 and 150 or something. But so far, so good. We're going to have to do a lot more of that outnumbered 2-1. I haven't gotten reinforcements yet, and it's already afternoon, so maybe I'm not going to. So we've got to hang on as best we can. Last Centurions got a chance to fire. Nelson's Redcoats, I think, are going to be doing really well in terms of the effective fire they'll be able to have on these units that are attacking. Now, they've said in the roadmap of the game, and that's available on their website, it's got kind of a roadmap now of what they're going to be working on as it hits early release and then beyond early release. And they definitely said that one of the big things they still have to do is some AI improvements. And you can see that here as, I guess we'll see what happens, but he's got me outnumbered 2-1. If he were smart, he'd be hitting me with everything he's got instead of only attacking with one division, which he appears to be doing right now, and giving me the numerical advantage. Let's see where things stand now. All right, still pretty good. 1% losses on my side, 4% for him. But that could change quickly. Mills' brigade so far not really involved. I'm thinking maybe since he's kind of keeping so tightly consolidated, maybe we send Mills over here. Oh, is he going to advance across the water here? Because that's a problem for me if he does. Who are they firing at? Oh, that's artillery being fired on them. All right, so maybe the AI is smart enough to do this. Because this is the one thing I can't really face, is if he uses his numbers on me, which he appears to be finally willing to do. Maybe it's just that I was facing McClellan in the east, and he wasn't smart enough, and Buell is. You know these Ohio guys. They're a little smarter. I know this game claims McClellan for Ohio, but he's not in Ohio, and I think he was the governor of New Jersey after the war. He just lived in Ohio before the war, because I think he worked for a railroad. Actually, let's go ahead and put Mills. No, I don't want to put him there because then he's going to be in front of the artillery. What's going on here? 6th Brigade surrenders. The enemy brigade under Colonel Gibson was thoroughly whipped out by my men, and the remaining 2,599 men have been captured. The prisoners have been sent to the rear to be handed over. Nicely done, boys. Let's look at the numbers now. Look at that. 3,600 casualties because 2,500 missing. We just took an entire brigade off the map. Nice. Now the numbers look a little more favorable, though. If he throws everything at me, I'm still not really that comfortable about victory. All right, looks like Mills is going to have to engage right here, just because that's what's happening. No. All right, Mills, you're going to have your hands full right here. Got 4 brigades marching straight at you. 5 now. Dang. Come on, boys, you can hold. Oh, no. I think it's just because they got hit by melee combat. Boy, he just charged probably 10,000 men at Mills Brigade. Dang. Let's see what numbers look like now. Still pretty good. 31 killed, 184 wounded. 2% casualties for me, 19% for him. He's down to 15,000 men. I'm not crazy about the fact that... Oh, that's another brigade. That's Wood's brigade. Let's get him up here on the river. Because Mills needs all the support he can get right now. The last Centurions as well. Let's put them up right here. Get everybody in the line firing up into this bunch of men that he has hurled in a big assault column at me. Man, more reinforcements coming up. Look at that. McCook's division. Whose division is this? I don't recognize that name. Garrison? Garish. Not familiar with him. Four Mills, man. They had to make the stand against basically the entire Union force. Doing all right, though. They're tired. No, they're breaking. This is their first battle experience. Welcome to the war. And look at you go. You just threw back 4 brigades with a little help from the side. Nice job, boys. Nice job. Very pleased with that effort. Let's get the last Centurions up here on the line in their green coats. All right, let's see what else he can throw at me. Look at all those broken units. That's fantastic. 300 killed. 28% casualties. Yeah, that was a good spot to form a defensive line. All right, so a number of his units withdrew, and we're actually into a second day now of combat. And let's look at the consolidated morning report. We actually ended up with about 299 killed, 1,700 wounded, because he did make another assault on me later, but he's basically withdrawn from the field at this point. So this battle's all but over. It's just a matter now of us going back and moving on the objectives that were set out for us at the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and do that just because that'll create I think, a winning situation for this battle. So we'll just start moving all of our units because there's no enemy force on the field at this point. Okay, we've taken just about all the objectives that have been set out for us. The only one we've got left is Mcfadden's Lane, which is right here. So as soon as we take that, we'll go ahead and do the truce button again, and I think that'll probably be the end of combat because there aren't any enemy forces on the field. I'm going to go ahead and grab Asbury Church for good measure. That'll give us all the objective points. That should amount to a major victory on the day, historically, that the Battle of Shiloh was getting underway. So let's go ahead and hit this ceasefire. That should be the end of this battle. It'll probably take us to the end of the day, though, just to be safe. All right, there we go. So there's the casualty figures, 8,000 for the Union, 2,248 for me. And that was only 1 corps of my force. I still have a couple more corps in that army. So we could, if we can concentrate our forces, we can completely smash Don Carlos Buell. And I think that would be huge in Tennessee right now. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. I know not quite as long an episode as before, but there's still a lot going on. But I feel pretty good about where we're at as a Confederacy right now, and I think it's only going to improve from here. If you have any comments, suggestions, questions about anything on the game or on the campaign, I'd be glad to answer those. Just leave them in the comment section below. Drop a like if you would. We'll see you again tomorrow with another episode. Thanks for watching.